Okay, I'd like to call the August Board of Police Commissioner meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pam Rodenberger is on her way. She texted she'll be a couple of minutes late, so she gave us permission to start. There motion to accept the July minutes as written.
Motion to accept July as written. Any exceptions, comments? All in favor?
Aye. Okay. Public comments. The Beachcomber night has pulled away what was going to be a really big crowd here tonight, I know. So when you drove over, did you look this crowd? Did you go past?
I didn't go past.
I didn't go past, I came this way.
Okay.
But
Do
I'm
you
sure
have
it's
any
happening.
feel for the size of the crowd participating in that?
Well, last year was fairly busy. I think it's a beautiful night. They've been setting up since like 2:30. Wall Street is closed. We have a band there. There's all kinds of food and spirits, we'll call it. So I think it's going to be a lively evening. The captains are down there. Holly is down there. Cadre of officers. So.
How long does it run till? What time?
Pardon?
What time is it?
It's a 7.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
7, but there's a few people, they reset the hours, but.
Stragglers.
Okay, good, that's a great idea. Okay, Chief, report, budget, finance?
We have no public comment, right?
No public comment.
Okay. We'll start with budget. You folks have the handouts. As you recall, we always talk July 1st is kind of our probably the biggest month we encumber. Wages, we encumber services that we contract for, supplies, things of that nature. So that's what generally takes a good dip in the end of July as we walk into August.
So, if we go to the budget summary sheet,
Yes.
so maybe it's because of the way we encumber the certain line items. But if we look at, we're over in salaries for a month, and we're again significantly over in wages. So how is that loaded?
You have they get 3 paychecks in July. You have the comp, sick, vacation buyouts for July. You have the special function of the parade, the fireworks, the concert, all things July in Madison. You have, we pay up front for the annual recertification of some of the courses. The vehicle replacement also, but that comes out of CIP. Annual contracts, dues, uniforms, etc. We pay the uniform checks. And the CID annual investigation software. So that's where you see the dip.
Have you ever talked with Stacy about saying, instead of loading the 12 months equally, we should, you're never going to get it exactly right, but we should think about, reflecting just those points you raised for this first month of July, so we get a little more, accurate feel of how we're doing budget.
Well, in her general budget, how she describes her budget, that's her way of talking about it. We've had that discussion of changing before. No, this is past audit, that's what the auditors want, that's what they do. I know you don't like that answer. I know you don't like that answer, but I'm trying to tell you, we've had this discussion numerous times over there.
I mean, from an auditing point of view, if a budget is a plan and you're kind of looking at how we're doing with the plan, you'd want the plan to reflect, this is how the.
I think it's worth a cup of coffee, sir, with you.
Okay. Same coffee's in the budget. Okay. Training.
We're good?
Go.
Okay.
Just, excuse me, just looking at our budget, so just from going forward, how many vacancies patrol vacancies do we have?
2 right now, with the third one coming in January. If we don't lose anybody before that. My understanding is 7 people are put in for other agencies.
7.
That's my understanding.
Are these all officers, or
There are officers that are eligible to go, that are
Patrols.
going to PDs with pensions.
That's right, of course, you.
Our training report. Well, before I start there, I'd like to talk a little bit about the budget and building, if I may.
Sure.
Okay. This isn't in our budget line, but it's in buildings, and it's the work they do on this building. Okay, so it's scheduled for this year, a part of a 5-year replacement or upkeep, whatever. We have, this year, the storage building is gonna go up in the back. Essentially, it's 3 bays, we're gonna have storage in there for some records and stuff. It's gonna be on a concrete slab, and the building's gonna be a prefab. Cost analysis on that, where they have the expenditure with all the electrical, plumbing, foundation is $258,000. Second one is $98,000, and that is for the roof, and that's for the generator replacement, the generator that handles the cameras. There's also $137,000 for this room. I use the term bring it into the 21st century, but bring it up to speed so we could do all things IT with it, including Zoom meetings, fixed cameras, things like that, similar to what they do in the Madison room, the visual. Also painting, the outside of the building, and they're gonna be replacing this furniture. So I just wanted to give you an update on that because the building is under your guys as far as approvals. This is what Peter Anderson had forecast when he arrived there. We did an analysis of all the buildings in the town, part of the critical infrastructure, and he said that the police department needs maintenance.
So what's the timing, generally?
Most of it's gonna start this year in the fall and carry into next year.
Oh, so it's gonna be an 8-month thing?
Hopefully.
Paid for with this fiscal year's budget?
Yeah, since it's capital improvement plan, years 1 and 2, we're in the second, so they've done some work already. They did floors, I gave that a tour the other day, how they did the floors, or whatever they did, and we had to rehab somewhat the garage we do back in the back. And basically get the varmint out of it, and then we cleaned it up, painted it, we did the inside, we did the floor. So we did all the electrical and exhaust.
Okay.
The monthly training for July, a little bit less than we usually have. We took advantage of some of the mandates, we were able to schedule people for post pre-cert. Obviously, July is very tough for us to get people on a regular schedule. After Labor Day, we'll go back on a normal schedule. We try to do at least 20 to 40 hours in each discipline as we rotate the officers through. Part of that mandated training, sexual assault investigation training, most of these are driven by statute. We'll change the law effective July 1st. Collect and CIC recertification, and the bi-monthly training, one for the response team, and we have some training that's done also with the SROs. Any questions? The traffic report, well, it's July, and a lot of people are in Madison, so we had 32 motor vehicle accidents, of those 6 were in injuries. 15 accidents involved property damage only, while another 10 occurred on private property. Generally, that's the shopping center. Additionally, one of these incidents involved a party evading responsibility. That person was captured, or stopped, I should say. There were no fatal accidents. Again, the primary cause, bombs are closed, federal grant right away. A lot of people just don't pay attention when they drive. And, questions? Recruitment.
Excuse me.
Certainly.
So if we go back to our traffic, let me just, and look at the traffic stops. Let me just say a few words here, maybe ask you to say a few words. We had a discussion here at our June meeting, where the subject was the number of stops and the number of citations written versus verbal warnings. And at that point, it was noted that significant number of traffic stops, the vast majority of them, I think it was 85%, 80%, resulted in verbal warnings. And so we had a discussion about that. I have heard back that somehow that discussion reflected that the commissioners, or in particular, was critical of the effort of the police officers. That somehow was reflected that they, quote, were not doing their job or not working hard enough. And so I wanted to just talk about that a bit. And first of all, say however that got back, and obviously the televised events, our meetings are still televised, and anyone who would like to, see, quote, the film verbatim, I urge them and welcome them to do it. But it was certainly not intended to reflect on the professionalism or the efforts on the part of the police officers. What it did focus on, given what we regularly have heard from residents, is how do we deter speeders in the community? As recently as the Board of Selectmen meeting this Monday, when the Bicycle and Safety Committee presented their report, including a survey of some 460 residents, that one of the two top issues that they had a concern of the public was speeding and how to deter speeding. So it's not an unimportant issue. It's certainly, if we look at the last 12 or 18 months of police commission meetings and said, what is the most common public comments we've heard? Speeding outpaces parking by far. So the question is, certainly when we look at these traffic stops, is not in any way to criticize the officers, but rather to discuss with your input, obviously, is there other efforts that we need to make to defer speeding? You've talked about the effectiveness of the traffic calming signs, and those have been very helpful, and we take it as accurate that it's where they've been installed, it does slow down motorists, but the effort still is, how do we deal with speeders in a way that is a deterrence if we're looking at these statistics and at least have an open discussion, including disappointed none of the other your leadership team is here, so that we could have an open discussion over, are there other things that we need to do to defer, to reduce speeders in the community. So I realize some officers might have twisted this in a way for whatever reason, I don't know, because you know, I can't believe that if we look at how the effort we made as a commission to support the department, including adding officers, it's pretty clear where we stand in supporting the department, and not taking collective steps or, you know, from the pulpit here to criticize. So, you know, I wanted to be open and put it on the table. How can we defer speeders if we're still hearing it and the approach we seem to have is not working?
I don't think we're ever gonna run out of speeders.
I agree.
My assumption would be that they watched the meeting. That's their interpretation of the remarks that were said, and that's how they came to me within a week of the last meeting. My suggestion was they reach out, talk to you directly. I tried to explain that it was a curiosity, they're asking questions. That's what they have the right to ask questions. They reminded about authority. The police commission doesn't do day-to-day operations of the police department or tell them what they write tickets. I explained to them, please have the conversation with the chairman, which I believe they did.
Okay.
Let's hear from some of the other commissioners.
Okay.
I'm used, Ken, you want it?
Go ahead.
I can just, I think another way of saying what Ed has just said, and it's not any better or any worse than what he said, is that there seems to be, looking at these numbers, is that we stop speeders, but we don't deter them. We just stop speeders and tell them they're going too fast and that there'll be a consequence for doing this. That's what a verbal warning is, I believe. So you have all of these numbers every month for the last 3 months. And a verbal warning for speeding in today's world is kind of having a conversation without any consequences. There's nothing to, because the way people react to law enforcement, the way they react to what they feel are their privileges, a verbal warning when they're stopped is an inconvenience for them between point A where they left and point B where they're going. So they're stopped for 5 minutes to be told to be slow down, and then they're on their way, and there are no consequences for their actions. And again, to Ed's point, we're not in the least bit in any way suggesting that the officers write more tickets, because as you pointed out, Chief, it is at their discretion. But the society we're in today seems not to pay attention to verbs. They pay attention to actions. So we're wondering if somehow there is a way that we can communicate to the town. And I was on the Zoom meeting the other day just following it. The gentleman who came on he said his company, SOC, SAG, whatever it was, has been in business for a very long time. And they approached, so they got 457 responses from people in town, which he thought was an extraordinary number based on his experience. So I thought that was a low number. I would have expected it would have been triple that. But he said 460 was a lot of responses. And there was a common denominator throughout all of those responses about traffic calming, bicycle paths, and walking, aggressive driving, and speeding. This is a third party saying this. So to echo what Ed is saying, without casting any aspersions on the officers and their actions on a day-to-day basis, how do we get the word out to the public? How do we implement something that proves to them that there really are consequences for what they're doing?
Well, first of all, I disagree with you.
Well, that's to be expected.
I disagree with you. And what they're talking about is basically the bike route on everything along Route 1. If you remember how I spoke at that meeting, Route 1 is the main issue for all that feeds off that. We don't have bike lanes on Route 1. Cars go by, and some people riding a bike, they'll think the car that's doing 40 is doing 60. They'll think the car that's doing 25, maybe doing 40. That's how they feel. They're out on the road, they're trying to, they know they get 3 feet, and they take it personally. is a little bit different than people that live on Route 1, have issues with traffic at times. I get that point, anywhere else in town. But let me go back to the police department. The police officers make a lot of contacts. They do a good job at that. You may have 400 some odd people you heard from the other day in regards to Route 1 and bike safety and the Greenway Trail and other contributors to that they one day would love to see. I'd love to see a crosswalk across the middle of Route 1 downtown, but it's done taking years for that to get done. That's a complaint I have, the traffic stop. The police officers do a good job, and that's their discretion. They make the stops. When they make a stop, that's recorded. That goes into a database. That also goes to the state of Connecticut. If they stop that car again and they see that this person obviously doesn't get it, most of the time they go take it a step further. Majority of people we have during the summer months are probably people that are coming from other communities. The majority of people we have probably in the winter months, people live within the community, with the exception of commuter times. Coming off the ramps, going down, getting on Route 1, heading to Guilford, heading into Clinton. But it's pretty clear that they don't allow political involvement in policing day to day, and that's why the statute is what it is. You have hire a police chief, he runs the police department. He has the full authority scope, it's Connecticut statute. The police commission hire, fire, discipline in the building. What they took offense to was that when you're trying to tell them how they should be doing their job, you don't have that authority. You can fight for the budget, you can work against it. If you don't like it, you pass it on to me. They're watching this meeting right now as we speak, I'm sure. Nobody told me that, but I'm gonna assume that because the union has people that watch the meeting. They did take offense to it. I told you they took offense to it. I asked that, you know what, take it, I tried to explain to them. This commission has supported you folks. He has an interest in it. He has his reasoning. Please talk to him. And I believe you had a conversation with him. I think he told you his feelings. But I think what you're doing right now, especially during the times that are going on right now, we're trying to hold on to the officers we have, we're trying to get through a negotiation process. The secondary to that, or maybe primary, is perception of policing in this country right now. Not just in Madison, throughout this country. And what people are trying to do to survive post-COVID in this country right now. I don't know who thought this out, but somebody thought years ago the way to balance a budget is to keep upping the fines in the state of Connecticut. And most of the people that are recipient of those are people who least afford it. So, we can continue this conversation, please somebody give me a comment on this, and I'll continue, or we can just end it.
Well,
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, respectfully, you disagreed with me. To some portion, I respectfully disagree with you. I think the commission knows what our job is in relation to what our abilities are, whatever. But the commission also serves as a voice for the citizens of the town. People in the town come to us at various times in our lives and speak about things. And one of the concerns that has arisen lately is traffic. And that people are driving too fast and too aggressively. We've all said that is true. And as a non-uniformed officer, as all of us are, with no authority to tell anybody to do anything, from a citizen's perspective, one of the things that seems to get, in my opinion, and perhaps ours, I won't speak for anybody, they have their own time, is if a ticket is written, that seems to get the person's attention. Versus a warning where the person will say, I got away with it. All I got is a warning. I'll be a little more careful, and that thought process probably dissipates before the sun sets. That's all.
Well,
Can I say something?
sure.
I hear what you're saying, and you are correct. We have the authority to hire and fire and review the budget. We also are within our rights to look at these numbers and comment on them. So that's okay. And you can be unhappy with the comments, or you could be happy with the comments. And I agree with you, then they should come to, someone who's unhappy should, or wants to have a discussion, should come to us. It's difficult when this is only in black and white to interpret what this means. So I think that there's context, and you provided some of that context behind the numbers. So the officers, I understand, are making a in-the-moment decision, and there's context around that, depending on what they see is needed. And that's not in here. When you look at these numbers in black and white, you don't see that. So I think that, my opinion is there's more that's happening behind here. I think that this is not telling the whole story, and I think it would be great if we had some more information about that. I don't know if we're entitled to it, but, what you're telling us from your opinion, what an interaction is, when someone is stopped. I also see, on the news, I still watch the local news to a certain degree, where there are people out there who you could give them 10 speeding tickets with a fine, and they don't care. They're not gonna pay it, and they're just gonna keep on speeding. We know that people are driving with suspended licenses because they have so many tickets. So I don't, I'm gonna say I don't agree entirely with my commissioner colleagues that it's a deterrent. I don't think that's true. I think what's a deterrent is the calming measures, the signs, having the officers out on the road where they are visible and people can see them. I think that helps. So to the degree that the officers are out there patrolling or also sitting in certain areas where they can, catch people speeding, that I feel, in my very limited policing experience, which we all know what that is, would seem to be a better way to do it. And when we can give somebody a ticket who is particularly aggressive, that would be great.
All right, I mean, our barometers like service clubs, awards we get from the chamber for our interaction with them, discussions we have with seniors, we get this all the time. Number one, by the way, is people love seeing the cruise line. Love seeing the cruise line and the cruisers. They think that, they like that presence. From wherever world, you're telling me how you're hearing from people. Well, I hear from a lot of people, on a regular basis, and I know exactly what the temperature is. They're very satisfied with what the officers are doing. Very satisfied. If somebody got away with something and somebody boasted about it over some cocktail, that happens all the time. But when we stop people, we document it. When we stop people, we have to, by law, document it. It's an automatic, whether it be a warning or with the ticket, it's fed in and it goes into the system. Part of that is driven by racial profiling prevention practice, which I know probably better than most people within this community. I'm gonna go back to what, they took offense to what you said. They watched the meeting. So I think the course should be, if there's a further discussion on it, you probably should have it with them. If you feel that,
No, I think we should have it with the person who's the chief executive of the department, okay? You set the policy and the tone for the department. These officers do not work for us. This is not an attempt to somehow give them direction or reaction. It was certainly not intended as a criticism of how they were doing their job. It was a discussion of how this fits into a deterrent. On these statistics, taking what Ann said, she's absolutely correct. There's no reflection on these statistics as to how many of these stops were speeding, as opposed to following too close, not coming to a complete stop at a stop sign, failing to signal. So, some of these absolutely reflect, and there's no criticism. No one on this commission says we should be in the car in making the decision that the officer is making. If that somehow is being reflected or interpreted by someone looking at the video of this, they're distracted at home. That is not our intent to replace their judgment. It's a question of things that I think, in your experience and capacity, would making something up.
Okay, well, as the chief executive officer you stated, I can tell you right now, they were offended by it, and probably after tonight, they're probably gonna be offended again. And I'm sure it's gonna become an issue, which I'll deal with tomorrow. I'm telling you, I'll hear probably tomorrow on it. I'm asking you, we'll handle the law enforcement aspect of this. Please do the support that you've always done for us, and I appreciate that. We've gone beyond to help people. We give people breaks, including people in this room. We do that for a reason. I find that our support comes from, listen, I always say when people complain about a stop sign in the road, when we start going out there on the road, who do we get? Most people on the road that live there, and the person sometimes who complain. You know, it's nature. They get galvanized over signs. I parked today for an hour and a half down by where the new school is. I didn't have a radar. I didn't get out. I got out for a guy that we're trying to get from Guilford, and I cut him off. But the point being is that it slowed people down. It made them aware, because I saw two people afterwards said, "Was that you parked there? Because I see the new signs are going up. They got them covered." That's making people aware. And when school starts, I'll have people out there to do what they're supposed to do. I'm not gonna argue what the intent was, what the interpretation was. I'm just telling you what comes back to me. And I was carrying the message, as I'm doing it right now.
Well,
Okay.
look, if there needs to be a more open forum at a future police commission meeting, I would welcome it.
Okay.
So, any other comments?
This is the first I'm hearing about any of this, to be honest, so it does surprise me. I think I recall a meeting where we said how helpful the stops where we were giving verbals was, and that people were noticing that we were around town and that we were giving the verbals. So I'm remembering that meeting where we thought it was doing well and we were slowing people down and it was helping with community. And I would assume that if someone gets away with it once, they're not gonna get away with the same thing the second time since it's in the system. And I'm assuming that you all use the discretion that you have to say, okay, last time you were given a warning, but you can't keep getting warnings for the same thing. And so this is the first I'm hearing of it. I do believe that you guys use your best discretion. So I just wanted to share that I don't necessarily share the same opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Good.
Okay, so recruitment, I'm back to that. So Alex Baccio and Chris Russo both graduated 3 weeks ago. They finished in the 95-96% grade-wise. They were up there in the top 10. I'm excited for them. They're out. They were still doing, obviously, the FTO will carry into the end of September with them. We also have a gentleman from the gentleman from South Carolina that wants to join our PD. Right now, I filed the paperwork for what they call a comparative analysis for certification. That went up last week. We'll wait to hear from them, the post council, and we can't proceed until we know we have this in hand.
Are there any kind of recruitment seminars? Are there any kind of
Before
events
there's
coming
the
up
usual
where we might have a presence asking of some interest to join the department?
The usual programs that they set up through the state and the training academies, those are all scheduled for after Labor Day. And we participate in those. And something unique is I know that Hartford PD goes, and I explained this, I told you this before, they go to New York City, they have an office there, and they do recruitment with seriously vets, but they're also hiring, up to 20 per class. The state police have just started doing that 1 day a week. So, because they're not getting any numbers either. And then a lot of people that are hiring are leaving. Not for them. So, I think there's an interesting, if ever we get Netflix, there's a movie on Netflix, more documentary on, it's called Police. And it's very interesting, and it basically describes policing, and it goes through policing, talks about enforcement through the ages, and very, this one person that I had dealt with in the past from state level, but some of it's, for the most part, it's fairly accurate, but there's room for more accuracy in where we are present day. This society today, not meaning our generations or the generation, my generation, the younger generation, but okay, Michael. So, anyway,
That seemed very
but
pointed.
it's very different. It's very different. The drivers are very different. We had aggressive driving today, and ironically, I'm the guy with the catcher's mitt that stopped the guy and blocked him in. And it was a young kid who was in town. But his interpretation, he's waiting for a guy, the guy gives him a break job, he drives around, goes over the line, angers some other people start calling 911. Some kid got arrested, but breaking it down with him. He was impatient. And I said, well, why are you over here in the parking lot of the beach club? And he said, because I was trying to lose the car that was found, which is the person on the phone talking to the police. This is a kid like 21 years old, and his interpretation, how we look at the world is like, and I'm trying to break it down so he's not getting upset. Why would you think that? Why would you do that? And he's just, his mind is, the guy's in my way and I'm going to. Well, he got his ticket. And he also got an additional number with a single rate report. But the drivers are different today, especially the younger
You
generation.
believe that?
The cars are a lot faster, electric, here's good examples. They changed the law, October 1st, the electric bikes are outperforming the gas bikes, so you don't need a license, you could drive, no insurance, a 49cc gas-powered scooter. Now, if you have a electric bike with no pedals, you have to be registered, you have to be licensed with insurance, because they're realizing that a little electric engine is making that thing go up to 70 miles an hour.
Will there be an age restrictions for the license of the electrical vehicles?
Say again?
Will there be an age restriction for the people who will be allowed to operate the electric vehicles?
Well, I'm talking about electric bikes right now.
Electric bikes?
Yes,
Will there be
you
an
have
age?
to be a licensed operator.
So all these kids you see riding on the post road?
That ends.
That's effective October the 1st?
Yes, and that's why I do not want golf carts on the roads. That's the reason why I came to you when they first passed the law. I have enough chaos on all the beach roads, I'm gonna add this. And what people do, Pine Orchard's a good example of Branford, nothing against Pine Orchard people, but you're going, it's not, the kids are out there driving around at night, they had a serious accident, or people are tanked getting in those and driving. You're inviting a problem. So anyway, so that there's changes to the laws because, and it's like they're changing the, here's the biggest frustration, the person that drives like 50 miles an hour on the left-hand lane on the highway, well, that's failure to drive right for most multiple lane LH, limited access highways, but now they have, what do they call it? It's like a term for home, like somebody, one change that happened, it's like a friendlier version of meandering in the left lane or something. You give it a ticket. I'm more concerned about the people doing 100 flying down the shoulders and everything else coming in from behind you. But in any event, there's some changes to the law, and when I get the list, I'll share it with you so you can, there's a little bit of comedy to it. So that would be the recruitment, is that in the fall, we know we have 2 solid spots, we have one in January, I hope I don't have any more. I know that I call them the kids, they're gonna be looking, I keep telling people, don't be discouraged, let things on their path, let's find out where we end first before you start, because this is the one place to work. They all balance that out. Community calendar. Well, we know July went very well. Tonight is the Beachcomber Night, which is probably one of the larger events for the Chamber of Commerce. We work very closely with them on that, and we're very, very happy, and they're very, very proud of what the police do. Close to the free ride, which is spinal cancer, which comes through numerous communities, will be here also on 9/6. We also had the Madison J.C.'s Dave Parcells Marathon, which we ironed out that route. There's a problem with one of the routes because of construction. The gas main went on Overbrook, so one of the roads is kind of rough, and the others, we just reversed the route. And they're coming down, so they're on the good side of the road. So, Fight Fest, look forward, 9/13, that's gonna be downtown. The Vista Tour de Shore, that's every year. The Walk to Vista is also every year. Trunk or Treat, that's my favorite. We're very proud of that. Turkey Trot and the Holiday Parade.
Where's the triathlon? They're not doing it anymore?
Well, that's it. That's the Dave Parcells. That's the triathlon.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah. I discussed, and we're talking to DEP on their behalf, is that they should start in Surf Club, go out all the ways to Liberty, go on the Greenway Trail in, go into the park, do your thing, come back, finish there, have your tent, you have your people, you celebrate. And even open up the backside a little one, people to leave, which is limited, because at that time of year, everybody's on the field, soccer people, the football people, the people that want to play, that are younger, they're all on the field.
I'm just laughing. I've done the swim portion of the senior triathlon a couple of times, and there's never a problem with traffic.
You're not gonna show us pictures, right? Okay, Mr. Chairman, anything more on community calendar?
Nope, you're good.
All right, shared services, I know you and I have talked about different things, I leave it to you to discuss your,
Yeah.
from the other day
Yeah.
meeting, but I did call Vinnie Mayo today, and I put a call into, the acting chief, and, but he has called me back in Old Saybrook, and I'll reach out to, the first selectman, Mr. Hall, in Westbrook, and some of the others to talk what possibly can be or could not be, more so for what is our bailiwick is regional approach to policing.
Let me just give a brief update, and Al, if you want to comment, please do so. At the Tuesday's Board of Police Commission, on the agenda, I'm sorry, Board of Selectmen, on the agenda was Peggy gave an update report, and Madison is you may be aware, Madison is a member of the South Central Connecticut Regional Board of Governors. It includes some 15 communities, essentially from Madison west through Milford and Orange. It includes North Haven, Bethany, Woodbridge, or Wallingford. Think of all the communities, kind of Madison, including Madison West, that they have agreed to begin a study to look at the potential of some consolidation for emergency dispatch functions. And Peggy, representative from Madison, just made that, share that information with the Board of Selectmen, and indicated that that was a study that was, in all likelihood, going to be initiated by the South Central Scribe. She also noted at the meeting that this would not necessarily deter Madison from exploring relationships and exploring the concept of some joint partnership with other communities that are not members of SCROG, such as Clinton and Deep River, Westbrook, Old Saybrook, Kenilworth, etc. So the chief and I both made some remarks to the selectmen that indicated that certainly we would endorse Madison exploring an effort, including with South Central. On the other hand, the complexity of trying to bring together a group of 15 communities which have different sizes, different geographies, different road patterns, totally different culture and connectedness, such as Woodbridge and Bethany, that seems not to have that much in common with Madison. But we would certainly support that, but requested not to preclude Madison from exploring some effort to evaluate some partnership with other of our neighbors, particularly those to the east, where we've had a lot of shared services already, particularly on the law enforcement side. And so our request was don't make it an either or, okay? Because I think the SCROG is going to take a long time deciding the shape of the table to sit down and talk, whereas I think we, given some of the chief's relationships and our relationships, might be a little nimbler and a little more thorough in evaluating it. It's not going to be any effort that we would make to evaluate this with our neighbors, such as Old Saybrook or Valley Shore, would not be wasted, because you're going to have to go through the same evaluation and data collection and the analysis of the systems that you do if you're going to have a partnership developed through the sky. You're gonna have to do the same thing, so if we, I see we, if there is an interest, and we don't know there is, we've heard there is, but if there's an interest from Valley Shore or Old Saybrook, Westbrook to explore it, then let's not wait for a SCROG to think this through and build the kind of trust and community engagement that takes some time, and that we certainly have been talking about this for a number of years. So we don't know what's going to come of that. There was not, from the other selectmen in response to Peggy's report, we certainly didn't hear any opposition, and it's one of those, well, if you're not opposed to it, let's flip it and say, then you're endorsing it. Now the question is, how might we put together the right set of individuals? And what we've always proposed to explore this, you needed all of the first responders to participate in this evaluation. All the fire chiefs, EMS, obviously law enforcement, emergency management personnel from Madison and from whatever community. So, our approach has consistently been to make this an open, transparent process, get the right people around the table to evaluate it. Not to move to regionalization, to evaluate, are there certain financial and service advantages to move to regionalization. If they conclude there is, then come back to the elected officials and get their endorsement of it. So that's, the kind of flag that we waved or try to wave. And Chief, I don't know if you want to add to it, but I guess right now, or Al, we'll wait and see to see there's some clear next steps to me, but we'll wait to see, how we might, kind of engage the Board of Selectmen to say, okay, let's have the always difficult sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk. Would it be helpful for us to begin to explore this, and then who should come to be, an active participant in that process? So that's kind of where we are. Yeah?
Well said.
Along the same lines as to what Ed just said, because I watched the same meeting, and I believe the duality of the approach would have some benefits, but I think it would be important if we attach some kind of a timeline to this, because we seem to have lost the time in these conversations over the last several years. They start out, and the next thing with us meeting once a month, 6 months has gone by and we're still looking at the minutes for the first meeting. So perhaps if we said, can we revisit this in 60 days or 90 days? Look, I don't have a time frame in mind, but I think we ought to attach some kind of a calendar date to this, so we update the status of both conversations and try and lay out some guidelines for the next step in whichever of the process or the duality of both processes. Otherwise, a year from now, we're going to sit here having the same conversation.
Well, yeah, what we can do is certainly you're the liaison, raise it with the Board of Selectmen, note it was, an update was given at this commission meeting, and, the reaction from the police commission, I'm not the only one that needs to articulate it, is, what is the next step? It is not going to be a quick process in any event, because it's a sensitive matter, but, the financial rewards continue to grow, the service advantages are there as well in terms of better equipment, updated systems. All of that financial support would certainly seem to indicate it's gonna be a more modern, contemporary, responsive system that you're gonna end up with, whether it's more radios in cars and fire engines. It's just, you can't have this expanded investment into this emergency dispatch and not expect to have some service, equipment, improvements. So we'll go from there. But, okay. That is new business. Chief, anything under that?
Back to correspondence, I only had one email, brief, but it actually went to Peggy, First Selectman's office. It had to do with Route 1 traffic. So we're beta breath waiting for our approvals for the encroachment permits from the state of Connecticut, so that we could put our crosswalks Cottage Road, out by Windermere, out by West Fork, and a few other places in between. Stanley, I have 213 emails back and forth to the state of Connecticut and others in regards to all the things you mentioned and others. So, over the years.
I have the survey that you and I started for the intersection of New Road and the connector for the new lines, and that only took 6 years.
More studies. Anyway, sir, so that's the only letter I have. Traffic issues, I know Jack wants things done yesterday when I set out to get them done, but I have to make sure that the school project, all the roads, all the STCs, State Traffic Control Commission signs are in place and operational before school starts and people start getting used to it. So we just received 2 speed signs from the state of Connecticut. They were gracious to give them to us, and they dropped them off, and they're going to pay for 7 years of the cloud for storage of all information, count, speed, compliance. So, like we have every one. So we're very pleased with that. That saved us probably about $14,000, and plus the cloud, who knows what that would cost us, probably another $7,000 to $8,000. So those are going to go up. I did the route today, did the route yesterday with Rob Marquis. I've talked to Sam and John and Rob Russo. Rob is great. So we can get this done, because that's a dangerous intersection, and we have to make sure it goes. It's there. Everything is operational before school starts. The only conundrum we have is that the buses that leave Deck River are going to take a right-hand turn and go up Green Hill, head back to the high school. They have to put the stop bar. Cars coming from the east heading west, you have to move the stop bar back a little bit. That's going to create some sort of a conundrum until we figure out another way, but that's the best we can do for now. But we picked up enforcement there, so people will get used to it. Outside of that, other state agencies, summer, so a lot of them are, I did talk to Commissioner of State Police today, and general stuff, but we're pretty good at it.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner comments?
I want to just say this, and I apologize for bringing it back up, the traffic stuff, but I didn't know I was the only one who didn't speak, so I just wanted to, I'm sure nobody ever means any disrespect or anything, and I think really the inquiry is saying if we're more aggressive, would the fear be a deterrent? And of course, we don't want to be a town of fear, but I certainly agree with what Ann said, is the bodies. I mean, when I see that car and I'm driving down the street and I see a patrol car, I'm like, oh my God, is the body still in my trunk? Did I bring all the drugs with me? So certainly I'm suddenly going 20 miles under the speed limit, so I think the biggest thing is just being on the road, and I know we have such a great relationship, our citizens and our police force, and we don't want to do anything to hinder that. And I think what they're doing is great. And I think if we get those spots filled and we get those bodies on the road, that's going to be our biggest thing. And I just wanted to say that part.
Thank you. We're guardians of this community, warriors when we have to be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Or maybe,
Yeah.
Yep.
Nothing here.
Okay. We will be going into executive session to get a labor relations update. So is there a motion to move into executive session?
1826 executive session.
Okay, we are now in executive